I want to bring up the whole trends thing because we bring up the trends in the same way that we just talk trivia, right? We brought up Born with Die Another Day because that was like, okay, movies are changing and people are liking these more serious movies now. We're in a post 9/11 world. That's just to put it in context. This whole trends thing, the constant arguments online just really start to bug me. It's like just because you can point out where an idea came from, suddenly that means it's bad. And not only is it bad, but it also suddenly ceases to be a Bond movie somehow, instead of simply being a Bond movie coming in a different flavor. As opposed to just looking at the movie itself, be it like Bond bungee jumping, going to space, License to Kill being an 80s action movie. I don't care about the trends beyond they're fun to point out or to understand. But the question is the movie good or not, regardless? Yeah. I just want to put this goddamn debate to bed because who gives a if they chase trends? I'm just getting really tired of the Bond movie, not a Bond movie thing because it's like, it implies that every movie has to be the same. But for me, the consistency is the character. The character has to carry over from one movie to the next. And you get that hardcore.
You're removed from duty and suspended pending further investigation.
The heavier character stuff is between Bond and M. You have classic elements of Bond having zero tolerance in the face of corruption and M giving him the trust that he deserves.
Find out where he's going. He's onto something.
Mom, the CIA is insisting.
I don't give a shit about the CIA or their trumped up evidence. He's my agent. And I trust him.
The lighter stuff is the womanizing and the boozing and the maxing out of his government expense account because he refuses to lay his life on the line and not be compensated with luxury.
We are teachers on sabbatical. This fits our cover.
Somos maestros on año sabbatical. Y nos ganamos la lotería.
And the classy elements are certainly there too. They even found a clever way to get Bond back in a tux via the opera scene.
I don't read what's online, but I will say if you are doing any kind of film analysis, it is a good thing to understand the context of where a trend comes from.
But it's not necessary.
It is necessary. It's necessary to understand when the movie...
To enjoy it.
Well,
for us, it lends to understanding. Yes, for
we're
us,
understanding
it's
the
important
movie.
to
We're trying to analyze the movie. We're trying to figure out why the filmmakers wanted to do the things they do. In this movie, it is very clear by even the fact the mention of who they had as one of the editors on this movie. It's very clear that they were like, we want to approach this movie like the Bourne films because and even I think even the story is very more in the line of trying to be a Bourne film.
My whole thing from the get-go has been, our directive is to pretend that future movies don't exist and that we're watching these movies in a vacuum. The history stuff is interesting, but the moment that you allow that to, like, oh, they're just trying to be the Bourne identity. My question is, what the is a Bourne identity? That's what my brain does because we're trying to watch these in a vacuum. And the fast editing and all that, the question isn't where did it come from? The question is, how is the movie regardless? So it's perfectly fine if they can make it blend. But here we are with the perfect example when it is kind of a bad thing because it changed how it was made instead of what they made. You know, kind of like movies that are shot in 3D and then they have a bunch of crap flying at the screen the whole time. So the whole, is this a Bond movie? It certainly has the Bond character, this new Craig one. So yes, it is a Bond movie, regardless of him not walking into a casino and saying, I'll have a martini shaken, not stirred. Like, no, every movie has to do that. I'm tired of this debate because people either say it doesn't have enough Bond elements, so it's not a Bond movie, or it has too many elements and now it's cookie cutter. Like, people keep complaining either way, and to the point where I'm like, f it. F the whole fucking stupid debate. It pisses me off. These Craig movies are real movies with emphasis on character, themes, and not just action and gadgets. That's the whole cup of tea argument. I like either direction, but saying one of them is a Bond movie and one of them isn't is to really misunderstand even just like the books. The last episode, we talked a whole lot about like GoldenEye bridges that gap between, you know, like book Bond and movie Bond. It's like the ultimate movie Bond, and then Casino is the ultimate book Bond so far as adaptation goes. But at this point, though, the whole debate is stupid because we live in a different world now. The universe Sean Connery started is gone now. So fucking get over it. These movies aren't even based on books anymore. They're taking the character and tone from Casino and running with it in a very real world and mature manner. Everybody fucking loves it for the most part. Everybody fucking loves Casino, and then they complain that this movie does the same thing.
My argument to that is like, you're going to complain that people are complaining about something that I'm like, no, it's the same reason why, Charlie, if you go to a Western or if you go to a romantic comedy or if you go to a drama, there are certain aspects, there are certain things you're going to expect out of those movies.
Sure.
I think as you look at the movies that people tend to like more are the ones that lean into the tropes in a good way, but doesn't feel like it's overdoing it. And I think they are the ones that have the most balance. I think there is a real reason why most people don't like your favorite Man with a Golden Gun, because when you watch that movie and you leave it, you do feel like, why did I not feel like this was the Bond movie? And then the next movie.
But why is that? That's the question. Why is that?
Yeah. And I think it really comes down to what is the DNA of these films. And I feel like when you too much with the DNA, I think people's general reaction is that's not what I was expecting. That's not what I wanted.
But that implies they all have to be the same. That's why it drives me nuts.
They should, though. And if I'm going to go see a Bond movie,
but again,
I want a Bond movie. I don't want Bourne Identity.
Say that's too much of the same.
I don't want to go see Bourne Legacy. I want to go see James Bond. And if I'm leaving the theater and I feel like I'm missing that, Bond walks into a
casino,
and I'm leaving the theater and I feel like I'm missing that.
Can you imagine being the Bond filmmakers and you're like, hey, we should change it up? Be like, no, resurrect Sean Connery, make him walk into a casino, say, my name's Bond, James Bond, and order a vodka martini shaken not stirred.
You don't like those moments? You're telling me you don't like those moments?
But you can't just replicate the same thing every time.
I love this, and like this feels like a Bond movie to me.
It's great.
Stale.
It's great.
I just think that
the moment they change it up, everybody freaks out. It's childish. It's just like you can't expect that. Like, you know what? How about we never make any more Bond movies? I just feel like you're having
an overly strong reaction because you found a movie that you really like because of what the message was saying, but then you were like, oh, but people hate this movie.
Does he really like it, or does he's just saying it's underrated?
I'm not talking about this movie right now. I'm talking about this annoying ass debate that goes on all the time, which is, oh, that's not a Bond movie. The character is pretty much always consistent.
Blofeld's something of a must with me.
That's why I'm so harsh on your favorite, Secret Service, because Bond repeatedly breaks character throughout, like quitting for no reason and endangering the mission with his penis.
Discipline 007. Discipline.
Fancy meeting you here, Fräulein.
If you go to the movies and there are a plethora of people and they go to the movie and they all kind of say the same thing and they're walking out and like they feel disappointed, there's probably a reason for that. And I think that was this movie. I think that people, if you want to say it this way, here's what you could say. I think this is what you could say. Yes, all your merits, what you said about the movie, like it's a smart movie. There's a lot of intelligence put in. There's a lot of thought put in by the director, by the writers of this film, regardless of there was a writer's strike or what, or the editing or whatever you want to say. Like there's a lot to that, right? But if I'm going in and I'm expecting certain things that I like about the Bond franchise, and I leave the theater and I feel like I didn't get those things, then I will feel disappointed.
I'm disappointed.
Now, I get what you're saying. It's like, that's not a Bond. Like, I'm not even saying it's not a Bond movie. Because the one thing I will...
It must always be the same. Always the same.
I'm not even saying that it will be the same, but I will say
I get it to a degree. Like if I go to a Fast and Furious movies, I need cars.
You need to have the elements, and I feel like this.
Or like Pacific Rim, I think is so great because I just wanted robots fighting monsters, and that's exactly what I got.
What is it about this that's missing? What is
it's the black and white? I think it's the
here's Golden Gun. What is Golden Gun missing that isn't Bond?
I feel like it doesn't have a sequence. Like here's the things that I really like about the stronger Bond movies, at least the ones that I think are on our list, save maybe for From Russia with Love, where we know if this doesn't happen, it's like we are very clearly understanding that bad things will happen if Bond doesn't save the day. I feel that way. I felt that way with GoldenEye. If Bond doesn't stop the GoldenEye weapon, we know that bad things are going to happen for a lot of people, whether they're going to die, whether there's going to be a huge financial meltdown. Like we understand, like there is real world stakes, and we're talking about I mean, like sometimes I throw around the word like comic book character, right? Like that's when I feel like the Bond movie Bond works best, is when he kind of is a little bit of a comic book movie character, when we know that like if he doesn't save the day, people are going to die, and we know which people are going to die and why that would affect us personally. This movie, granted, is not that movie because it is trying to answer the things from the casino era.